Hi everybody, welcome back to Handmade. Today I'm going to attempt an idea that I saw online. We're going to make cards that are basically made of hearts. I saw this idea on TikTok and it's one of those projects where the TikTok is like, less than a minute long. It looks super easy. But as somebody who is a crafter and has done a lot of similar projects, I'm a little suspicious. Not that it's not going to work, I think it'll look great, but I feel like there's a little more work to get there than the original video would have you believe. So let's get started. So we're going to start with 2 pieces of colored paper. For this project, you'll actually want your paper to be about the same weight as printer paper. Normally, I would recommend cardstock, but for this project, we do not want to use cardstock. So let's start with just one of the papers. What we want to do is cut it down to a 7 by 7 square. And now here's a little trick. Instead of measuring the 7 inches this way, we are going to want to fold it in half diagonally anyway. So if we do that now, then we can just cut off the bottom part and we'll have a perfect square. Now we want to fold it diagonally the other way as well as horizontally and vertically. So now that we have both of these folded, set one aside for now and then fold it in half diagonally. Now we want to cut a heart shape from the top of this triangle, but here's a little trick. You can actually draw your heart shape on scrap paper and then trace it on, and that way you're not cutting your nice colored paper and, getting it wrong. The first test one that I made, it took me like 3 attempts to get the heart shape right. And now when we open it up, you can see that we have a nice little heart. So what you want to do now is fold it along this vertical line and then trace it onto the second quadrant and fold it along this other line and then trace it here onto the third quadrant. So this is what we should end up with, and we're just going to now trace that onto the second one and cut it out as well. So now that we have both of those cut out, we're just going to glue them together with the squares overlapping, and that is going to create the base for our card. Next, you'll want to grab 2 pieces of a second color of paper, as well as a piece of scrap paper. So using the scrap paper, trace one of the hearts and cut it out to make a pattern. Once you have that, we're going to cut it down by about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And you can see that that'll leave a little bit of a border of our original color around the heart. So grab your second colored paper and trace and cut this out 8 times. All right, so now that we have all of these pieces cut out, we're going to grab our heart pattern again, and one more time, we're going to cut it down by about 1/8 of an inch. So what you'll want to do is print out photos of you and the person that you're giving the card to. I printed out a bunch of photos with my friend Carolyn, and this is going to be a birthday card for her. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the photos. I'd recommend doing all of this and then waiting until you have your heart pattern before printing them out, because you want to make sure that the photos are the exact size that you'll need for your heart. If they're too small, you'll end up with borders around the edges, and if it's too big, it'll get cropped weirdly when you cut out the heart. You'll also want to try to do photos with two faces next to each other so that they end up in the two halves of the heart. If you just have one face right in the middle, it's gonna get cut off a little weirdly inside the heart. I also just put a color overlay over all of my photos to make them match a little bit more, even though they were taken at different times. So you can adjust your photos however you like, and having a little bit of computer and image editing knowledge is really helpful for this project. Also, again, I printed these out on normal printer paper, not on cardstock. So I'm just going to position the heart right over the photo, and you can kind of hold this up to the light if you want to make sure that you're getting it framed perfectly. Then just trace the heart and cut them all out. So now that everything is cut out, we are just going to use our glue stick again to glue everything down. Ooh, this is looking really good. So I let this dry for about 15 minutes, and now here is where the magic happens. We're going to flip it over, and then we're going to fold along this line here towards the back of the card. And this is why I told you to use printer paper and not cardstock, because if you used cardstock and you're trying to fold this many layers, it just would not look good. All right, so now when we flip it over, you can see that the two hearts fold in and you end up, oh my gosh, with such a cute little card. So at this point, you can decorate however you like, and you can write your message on the inside of the card. So, what do you think? How cute are these cards? Obviously, I went pretty simple with my decorations with just some washi tape and some letter stickers, but you know, you can totally customize this as much as you want. You can also make these for any holiday you can think of. So I also made a Mother's Day version with different photos of me through the ages. I put them all in black and white so that they would match a little bit better, and that's a great solution if you have photos from, you know, lots of different years or occasions. And I also wanted to show you the test version that I made where I did use cardstock, and you can see, I mean, it works, but it just doesn't really hold together that well, and it was a lot trickier to get everything folded cleanly. So I hope that by me kind of walking you through the process in a little more detail than the original video, you have a better sense for how to have success making this project. My final conclusion is that it does turn out really cute, but you should be prepared going in that it's not a quick project. There's a lot of tracing and cutting out and gluing, and even just choosing and preparing the photos that you're gonna use takes a lot of time. So if you're already into scrapbooking and card making and you have all of the supplies and you've done similar things before, go for it. I think it is super, super cute. But if this is not the type of project that you are familiar with, you know, just kind of ease yourself into it and maybe do a test version to get your footing before you try the real thing, because it's not the simplest project out there. So I would love to know, are there any other projects that you've seen online that you're a little suspicious of and you want us to try here on Handmade, let us know in a comment. Make sure to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.